Hi everyone, I'm Cheryl Butler, and you're listening to the Mighty Mommy's Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, which will help make your life as a parent a little bit easier and a lot more fun. Welcome. Today's episode is number 359, 5 tips to help prevent misbehavior in the new year, because our New Year's resolutions can also be about having a more harmonious family life. We all have goals and desires for our family during the new year. And one that is usually high on that list is encouraging better behaviors. Before I had my 8 kids, I would marvel at seeing how children behaved out in public. There seemed to be 2 norms: exceptionally behaved and polite little darlings, or out-of-control little terrors that were running the show. I'm afraid at the time I was a bit quick to judge. After all, I was then the mother of 2 adorable Cocker Spaniels. But after my 5-year bout with infertility, finally yielded my first daughter, then my son, then my next daughter, and on until I had 8 kids in one short decade, I realized 2 important things. First, I would not be critiquing other parents when I didn't know what their circumstances were. And second, I wanted to be one of those parents who was out and about with kids who were respectful and as well-mannered and behaved as their present age would allow for. 20 years of parenting later, I've had more than my share of ups and downs with my kids in public, believe me. So, Mighty Mommy is going to share 5 proven tips that have helped my own kids shine with their best behavior, both in public and behind closed doors. Tip number 1, have clear expectations. One of the best tips I ever learned early on as a parent was that kids need boundaries. Even at a very young age when they're toddlers, they need to know what they can and cannot do. When your child is learning to walk and finally gets mobile, you wouldn't let her toddle out over to the street where she could get hit by a car, right? Yet, if she grabs her favorite toy and is excited to bring it over to you, you encourage and praise her for that type of interaction. Right from the beginning, we're teaching them right from wrong and how to stay out of harm's way. They learn by the tone of our voice when something is pleasing or not, and kids are born to want to please, especially their parents. So by establishing your expectations early on, you're setting a solid foundation for good behavior. Tip number 2, set some family rules. If kids have free rein to do as they please, talk back with fresh flip remarks, and are appeased the minute they start to whine, you can kiss any chance of raising a well-behaved child goodbye. There's no question that it's easier to give in and let them watch TV instead of doing their homework when you're making dinner because they're wearing on your last nerve ending, or to bribe them with a new toy or treat to get them to stop crying in the store so you can save yourself some embarrassment. But you know what? If you invest the time in setting some family rules and stating them to your kids, you can turn that rotten behavior around, and quickly. You don't have to overcomplicate this and give lengthy explanations. If you decide there's no TV in the morning before school, you can state that as one of your family rules and say something like, "You need to eat breakfast and get dressed so we're not late for school. TV time will be later this afternoon." In our house, these rules have changed as my kids have grown. The great part is they have been used to following guidelines throughout their childhood and into their teen years, so they expected to have rules when they started driving and dating, etc. And because we've always taken the time to discuss why this rule is in place, we have their respect because we're not saying, "because I said so." Tip number 3, acknowledge the good and the bad. Another one of my favorite parenting tips has been catching one of my kids doing something good and praising them for it. When they were younger, it was moments like, "You picked up all your toys all by yourself. Great job." Or, "I noticed you just shared your new game with your sister. Thanks for being such a nice big brother." Kids are told no dozens of times all day long, so it's nice for them to hear when they're doing something right. At the same time, it's good for them to realize that we all make mistakes and that we have to learn from them. So when he does do something that isn't pleasing, "Hey, I know you feel badly that you used your friend's homework assignment as your own. Next time you'll need to get the assignment done yourself, and then you'll feel better about handing in your own work." You're using it as a teachable moment and helping to develop a conscience. Tip number 4, be consistent. You can't expect kids to behave if they don't have consistent boundaries. Saying no to staying up past bedtime only part of the week is sending a message that you don't really intend to enforce a bedtime on a regular basis, only when you feel like it. Kids are great manipulators. but only if we allow it. Consistency, my friends, is key. If you don't want to reinforce bad habits, you have to be consistent. Once your child is old enough to understand that behaviors have consequences, don't give him repeat chances. This just teaches him that you aren't serious and he can get away with this behavior a few more times because he knows you won't take your own rules seriously. And tip number 5, set an example. Kids absolutely learn some of their behaviors by watching how their parents respond to different situations. So always remember that you have a live audience every time you react to something. If you get cut off in traffic when you're driving your daughter to school and decide to lay on the horn and scream a few choice words, hard not to resist, I know that, then it sends a message that when you're faced with an aggravating circumstance, it's okay to respond as a hothead. One of the best tools you can use to cultivate better behaviors is to model them yourself, and that includes the good ones too. When you witness something positive happening, such as receiving friendly customer service from someone such as the waitress who was having to run around like a chicken without her head, serving 6 different tables, but she still manages to stay calm, friendly, and attentive, compliment her in front of your kids. Wow, you are handling this super busy day like a pro today. Thanks for being on top of our order and for being so pleasant. We really appreciate it. What are some of your tips to prevent misbehavior in your household? Share your thoughts in the comments section at quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy, or you can post your ideas on the Mighty Mommy Facebook page or email me at mommy@quickanddirtytips.com. And I hope you'll visit my family-friendly boards at pinterest.com/mightymommyqdt. And I hope you'll also sign up for the upcoming Mighty Mommy newsletter, which will be chock full of practical advice to make your parenting life easier and more enjoyable. Wishing you and your family a peaceful start to your new year. Thanks for listening, and until next time, happy parenting.